Imagine a heavy steel door groaning open after decades. Cold, stale air escapes, a ghost of a forgotten era. Your flashlight slices through the darkness, revealing thick concrete walls. These are the bunkers of the Cold War, silent, hidden monuments built to survive the unthinkable. Scattered from England to Russia to America, they were not tombs, but arks for humanity. Exploring them today is like modern archaeology, recent, chilling and real. The silence here is profound, broken only by the drip of water. Above, life went on. Below, a different future was being prepared. Walking through them, you touch the fears of previous generations. These bunkers are history you can feel, not just read. August 1945 changed everything. The atomic bomb's shadow stretched across the century. War was no longer just armies and battlefields, it was the threat of annihilation. One flash could erase a city. A full exchange could end humanity. This new reality seeped into every part of life, politics, culture, even dreams. The enemy was no longer just another nation, it was the bomb itself. Hidden everywhere and nowhere. Invisible, constant, it created a unique psychological pressure. How do you live knowing life could end in an instant? Governments faced a new problem: how to protect people from total destruction. Old defenses were useless. Walls and armies meant nothing to a missile. The focus shifted from winning wars to surviving them. The idea of a winnable nuclear war faded. There would be no winners, only survivors. The bunker was born from this dark soil of fear. News, drills, and atomic test images made the threat real. School children hid under desks, families built backyard shelters. The bomb became a monster in movies and nightmares. People looked to leaders for the promise of survival. The bunkers were a direct response to this existential dread. They were the government's answer to the unthinkable, and for many, they were the only comfort in an age of anxiety. Faced with the bomb, governments built massive underground bunkers, sent a message: we have a plan. These structures were symbols of control and competence. Pouring concrete deep into the earth was an act of defiance against annihilation. But the bunkers also confirmed nuclear war was a real possibility. For every person reassured, another felt new anxiety. The government was preparing for the end of the world. Bunkers were paradoxes, meant to calm fears, but also to amplify them. Billions were spent on these secret fortresses. Their locations and capabilities were classified, part of Cold War theatre. They projected strength and readiness, key to deterrence. But for most people, the promise of safety was an illusion. The vast majority would never see the inside of these bunkers. The illusion mattered. It maintained order and channeled fear. Leaders needed to be seen taking the threat seriously. In a world on edge, even a flawed plan brought comfort. The bunkers were psychological tools as much as physical ones. They reassured the public, even as they deepened the sense of danger. The real protection was for the few, not the many. And the illusion of safety became a powerful weapon in itself. Entering a Cold War bunker is stepping into a self-contained world. Engineering solved terrifying problems: blast, fallout, and survival. Bunkers were buried deep, with thick concrete and massive steel doors. Some sat on springs to absorb nuclear shock waves. Air was filtered through NBC systems, keeping radioactive dust out. The bunker was kept at higher pressure to push clean air out, not let poison in. Inside, everything needed for survival was stored: food, water, fuel. Diesel generators powered life support systems. Medical bays, decontamination showers, and morgues were standard. These were not just shelters, they were command centers. Communication rooms, briefing tables, and offices allowed government to function underground. Every detail was planned, from sleeping quarters to canteens. The goal government and war could continue even after the surface was lost. These were underground cities engineered for the day after. Survival was technical, precise, and relentless. The world above could burn, but life below would go on, at least for a while. The bunkers could protect from the blast, but not from what came after. Surviving the explosion was only the beginning. When the doors opened, survivors would face a poisoned, ruined world. Cities gone, countryside contaminated, civilization shattered. The psychological toll would be immense, emerging as the last remnants of society. Plans for rebuilding underestimated the challenges. Nuclear winter, starvation, disease. The bunkers offered a narrow definition of survival. They could shield bodies, but not minds or communities. They preserved life, but not a way of life. In the end, they were a plan for existing, not for truly living. Civil defense for all was a myth. The best bunkers were for a select few leaders, commanders, essential experts. Their true purpose was to ensure the continuity of government. Even if the nation was destroyed, a chain of command would survive. Secret facilities like Cheyenne Mountain and Burlington were underground seats of power. This created two classes, the protected and the unprotected. Most people were left with drills and flimsy shelters, while leaders had robust plans. When the truth emerged, it felt like betrayal. Some lives valued more than others. The logic was cold. A country without leadership would collapse. But from a human perspective, it was deeply troubling. The bunkers were lifeboats for the powerful, not arks for humanity. They were built to save the state, not the people. For most, the advice was simple: duck and cover. Civil defense campaigns taught children to hide under desks, giving a sense of control. The real purpose was psychological, managing fear, not ensuring survival. Private shelters became symbols of the era, but also sources of tension. Who would you let in if the bombs fell? Constant drills and sirens created a generation living with the bomb's shadow. Some grew anxious, others became fatalistic. The shelter mentality shaped culture, fostering suspicion, individualism, and denial. Life went on, but the threat was always present. The bunker was both a comfort and a curse. The US and USSR built bunkers, but with different philosophies. In the West, elite bunkers protected leaders. The public was told to build their own. The family shelter reflected individualism and self-reliance. The Soviet Union invested in massive public shelters like the Moscow Metro. The message: the state would protect the collective. In reality, access was still limited, protection for the few. Both sides used bunkers as propaganda, reinforcing their ideologies, but in both systems, the best protection was for the elite. The average citizen's chance of survival was slim. Bunkers were ideological battlegrounds, and psychological ones too. The Cold War ended, and the bunkers were abandoned or repurposed. Some became museums, data centers, or even homes. They are now eerie reminders of a world on the brink. Walking through them, you feel the tension and fear of another era. They teach us about the logic and folly of mutually assured destruction. The lessons remain urgent. Nuclear weapons still exist, and new threats have emerged. Bunkers show how fear can drive extreme decisions. They warn against seeing mass destruction as survivable. The best way to survive nuclear war is to prevent it. These relics are more than curiosities. They are warnings. They urge us to remember, to learn and to choose a safer future. By preserving their story, we keep the lessons alive. The bunkers stand as silent witnesses, reminding us never to repeat the past.